Okay, next thing we're going to do is modify the universal soundboard. To do this is very simple. We need a soldering station. We need wrap wire. You can get it at any Radio Shack. And what we're going to do is locate on the PC board, right down here in the lower right corner, between this solder pad and this solder pad, we have to physically cut this trace to open up the circuit. Then we're going to solder the wire onto this point, and then we're going to run it down to one of these pins on the edge connector, which I'll look in the next step. Very simple modification, and if you ever wanted to reverse it, all you'd have to do is remove the jumper wire and of course put your little jumper across where you severed the trace. So it's a simple modification and can easily be reverted back if you ever wanted to put the game back in its original configuration. Okay, now we have the universal soundboard done. As you can see, I've cut the trace in two. I've soldered the wire to this point here, and the other end goes down to the edge connector and solders to number 5 on the edge connector, and that completes the modification to the universal soundboard. Okay, next step is to modify the eliminator soundboard. This is a little bit different since the board is different, but it's basically the same principle. What we do is look for U40 pin 1, and let's see, okay, this is U40 right here, and this is pin 1. So what we have to do is cut this trace in two right here. Okay, the eliminator soundboard, we have pin 1 of U40, wire soldered to it, and it runs down and solders to the 4th edge connector on the bottom of the board. And that completes the modification to the eliminator sound card. Okay, next we're going to modify the Battlestar board. We have to cut a little trace between two pins on U34, pin 4, and looking at the bottom of the board, here it is right here. There's a little trace that goes between these two pins. We have to cut that trace in two. Okay, well, we've cut out the trace between pins 4 and 5, so now we can flip it over and install the jumper wire. Okay, now all we got to do is install the jumper wire from pin 4 of U34 and run it down to the solder spot on the board. So, should be real simple here. What we have to do is solder wire on pin 4 and run it over to this pad on the board. Okay, with the trace on the back side cut and the new jumper wire soldered in place, the Battlestar soundboard is now complete. That completes all 3 modifications to all 3 soundboards. So I guess the next step is to install the soundboards and hook them up. Okay, now it's time to install the 3 soundboards. Here's the card cage, and right now at the back we have the XY and timing boards. And next we're going to install the Battlestar sound card, then the eliminator, then the universal soundboard, in that order. Primarily because that's the way the wiring harness that plugs each board in, like daisy chains to boards, is made up. You could actually put them in any place you wanted to in the cage, it wouldn't matter, but because the harness is made that way, that's the order that you need to put them in. So the Battlestar, eliminator, and universal soundboard. Okay, next thing we had to do was install the harness with the plugs for the universal soundboard. Then we had to install the ribbon cable which the other end goes up and is already installed on the spinner interface board. So now we're ready to insert the CPU into the card cage. Okay, now we've plugged in all the sound boards. The plug with the red and black wire plugs into the universal sound board. The plug with the white and black plugs into the eliminator sound board. And the plug with the yellow and black plugs into the Battlestar sound board. Then the red and white wire, which is on a 6-pin plug, plugs into the 6-pin plug that goes into the harness, and that's the one that used to plug into the speech board. Now, the only thing we have left to do is to plug in these 4 main plugs into the top of the CPU board, and we should be ready to give it a test. Okay, everything is complete, everything is hooked up, everything has been checked and double checked, triple checked. So we're going to power it up and see what happens. And I hear the Star Trek music. And looks like we have Star Trek. All right. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Okay, game credits.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
All right, it spins. It fires. Hard to do this one-handed. All right, now, supposedly you switch the games by holding down player 2 and then pressing player 1. Now we have Space Fury. All right, it works. Credit the game.
So, a creature for my amusement. Prepare for battle.
And it appears it's working. Okay, I'm going to just go through all the games real quick without playing anything, just to make sure they're working. Later I'll set the camera up and we'll go through each game individually. So I hold down player 2, press player 1. Now we have Vector. Okay, hold down player 2, press player 1. Now we have Eliminator. Press player 2, now player 1. Now we have TAC-SCAN. Press player 2, player 1. Now we're back to Star Trek. Alright, it appears everything is working fine, just like advertised. I am happy. It's been a long time, this project, waiting for somebody to actually finish it, complete it. Clay Cowgill's game was amazing, but it fell short. It was never completed. Vector Labs has come through, finally. Now you can have all 5 of these wonderful Sega Vector games in one game. They all play, they're all functionable, they're easy to switch between the games. It doesn't have a fancy menu system, but who needs it? And the thing I like about this setup is I have it in my Star Trek cabinet. By default, when you turn the game on, it will come up in Star Trek. So you don't even know it has a multi-game in it. The control panel is identical. Nothing has been changed. The only other neat feature I see is that the games that play by rotating the ship with the buttons are now, you can rotate them with the spinner. Now some people might say don't like that because it's not original. Well, the way the Star Trek board is, the 2 rotating buttons are kind of far apart. so it would be playable, but I like the idea of having the spinner set up on these games. So congratulations to Vector Labs. You did a wonderful job. I am so happy, I just can't express it right now. Like I say, I'm going to set the camera up, and I'm going to try to go through all the games and show you how they all work with all the sound, and document this amazing Sega Multigame.